Welcome to the digitalpoliticspodcast.com show. I'm Karen Jagoda, president of eVoter Institute, and my guest today is Josh Justice. He's the president of Peerly. That's PEERLY.com. And Josh, I want to welcome you back to the show. I appreciate you taking a few minutes to be with us.
Absolutely. Thanks for having us back, Karen.
Last time you were on, you were talking about the launch of your video MMS peer-to-peer texting. So the first thing I wanted to ask you is, how is that going, and what kind of uptake are you seeing from campaigns?
Yeah. It was probably a few months ago. We launched video MMS texting. It's really taken off. It happened really fast. Peerly was the first peer-to-peer texting firm to launch TruHD video texting. That's full 1920 by 1080p. So when I say HD, it's not some made-up HD version you hear about. This is actually 1080p video over large-scale texting. And it wasn't a reality before we brought it to the market. Of course, iMessage, everything else, you can send HD video, but I don't think Tim Cook would like it very much if you're trying to send out millions of iMessages to voters, so that doesn't really work. In terms of the MMS protocol, this is really the only way to accomplish it. I said then, and I stick with it, that HD video texting, it's going to change the campaign industry. It's going to allow candidates to deliver cinematic quality, highly targeted videos directly to people's phones. There's been countless studies that are showing that texts have, 98%, some of them are in the high 90s or mid 90s% open rate. So you can imagine that if we can deliver studio quality video over text with an open rate in the high 90s, you can kind of ask yourself, is that going to be a game changer in politics? I've always held that it absolutely will.
It seems to me there's two elements there. One is the open rate and the other is the cost. So do you want to address the cost part of it?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So in terms of the costing for this, it actually costs pretty much the same amount of money as just sending a normal text message with a picture attached. And in 2020, for the most part, the peer-to-peer texting was heavily dominated by just simple linear messages, just basic messages back and forth. And then we've seen in the end of 2020, even in 2021, especially for a lot of the fundraising campaigns, them starting to attach pictures and getting MMS, media-rich files attached. And now, of course, with the introduction of HD video texting, we're seeing a large uptick on video texting. But the cost for all three of them are about the same amount. When you compare that to the cost of a linear commercial, or you compare that to cost to YouTube video or sponsoring a social media ad, it's a fraction of the cost. And there is direct, back and forth. It's a two-way message, right? So you can actually track open rates, and you can, collect data along the way and actually give that voter a one-on-one experience.
Yeah, I think it's the tracking part that really intrigues me, because you don't know who's in the room when a commercial's on TV or who is on YouTube and opted out of advertising. So isn't that really one of the big points that you can bring to clients?
Oh, it's major, because if you think about it, you can play a video, you can play a commercial all day long on TV, but you can't tell them to click on a link and direct them for more information. You can't ask them a question and have them reply to you right then and there and have a team of volunteers responding to them. And you certainly can't tell exactly who's opening your message and when they're opening it and how long they're watching. So the amount of data that you can get back from video texting is astronomical compared to standard linear commercials. So it is catching fire now. It is getting big, and we think it is just the beginning for this technology.
Tell us what you can about any P2P campaigns that you've done here in the summer of 2022. I know some of the primaries are over, some are still ahead, but have any of them really stood out for you in terms of lessons that you've learned in ways they've applied P2P?
Yeah, I think that the campaigns that's really focused on that kind of grassroots two-way conversations have done the absolute best, right? So if you look at peer-to-peer texting as just being a single bulk message where you're sending it out and you're moving on to the next grouping, and there are people that tend to try to do that with other providers, you're not going to, you're leaving a lot of the benefit of this technology on the ground, where if you're getting in there and you're actually engaging one-on-one with the voter, and you're also collecting some data along the way, then you're going to have a lot more success. So the campaigns that we're seeing that are most successful are the ones that actually have a follow-through plan and that are actually trying to have that conversation and garner a conversation and some information from that as well. I think it was 37% of voters polled in 2020 said that they actually felt influenced to register to vote because a campaign text message they received ahead of the election. That's massive, right? Like, we've never seen numbers like that before when it comes to campaign engagement.
And Purely seems to have come out of nowhere a few years ago. So I'm thinking you're kind of riding the wave here of interest in peer-to-peer, but you all are doing some really unique things. So can you say a little bit about how you've managed to capture such a large market share?
Yeah, so Purely was founded. Purely was founded a few years ago with that goal of bringing the cost of texting down for campaigns. Remember, when Purely got into specifically into peer-to-peer texting, the average cost of these messages were 10 and 20 cents. Like, some people were charging 25 cents. That was making it very difficult for some of those mid-ballot campaigns to take advantage of the technology. So Purely came in, and the first thing we did was we brought the price down by 50%. Right? In 2020, I think we delivered probably about 1 billion messages, and in 2022, we're looking to triple or more than triple that number. So in the last couple of years, we've innovated several areas of this sector. We brought down the price of peer-to-peer by probably more than 50% compared to others. And then, of course, we've launched rich font text messaging, which allows a user to send text using custom fonts. This is actually cool, and the reason why is that most text messages are pretty boring looking. They all look the same. It's standard text protocol. So now we can actually use some interesting fonts and make the message stand out. And then, of course, we've launched TruHD video texting, which allows you to send HD commercials over peer-to-peer texting as well. So we've always taken the approach that we really need to understand what our clients want, and we have to really deliver the best product and the best service for that dollar. And it's been a great approach for us. Our clients have really been happy with the technology, and we've experienced a lot of growth in the last few years.
You're also taking more advantage of the mobile device. So I think that's really a cool part of your solution. And I'm just wondering, do the clients think these kind of jazzed up peer-to-peer texting messages are going to take too much time to create or help others create? Or is that just seen as a great advantage and they're happy to do that extra creative part?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. So it's actually really simple. So if you have an idea of what you would want to communicate, from the time of your idea in your head to actually going through setting up the message and sending out a test, you could actually put that all together in probably about 2 or 3 minutes. Now, of course, we have some very large clients, so they have a lot of messages that they're doing, but we have some really easy campaign builders in place, and we find it probably to be one of the easier methods of advertising when it comes to a time commitment, because traditionally, if you're looking at going and doing a social post and a sponsorship, you're looking at spending 10, 20, 30 minutes to kind of get that together. Plus, there's a design aspect, which means it has to go to your design house. If you're looking at going and putting up a YouTube video or looking at doing a billboard or newspaper advertisement, there's a lot of steps involved. And there's also a lot of other people that have to come into this. So that's why smaller campaigns really love this technology, is that, their marketing or advertising person can do all aspects of it and do it in only a couple of minutes. So it's very efficient.
And also, it sounds to me like you could really repurpose creative that was done for those other media and just put it into this pipeline. Is that right?
Yeah, that's the thing is that if you're going out and you're spending, thousands of dollars, if not tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands in some cases on something like a commercial, there's only so many places you can put that commercial. You're going to put it on TV, and you'll throw it up on YouTube, and sure, let's put it on Facebook, and we'll send it out on Twitter as well. now you can actually send it out over text message. And unlike those other mediums, you can actually see who is interacting with it. You can get responses from them. You can push them down your cycle, down your pipeline a little bit more, right? So one piece of material can be used on multiple avenues, and I feel that that texting is the no-brainer out of them all, right? I mean, you're going to get the best responses for for your budget every step of the way with that.
It also seems to me a good medium for experimenting or for doing a little testing to see what's going to resonate with people. Is it the plain vanilla message, or is it this jazzy one with a video? And so, do you have an opportunity to work with clients sometimes to do small campaigns to test out these kinds of creatives?
Yeah, we actually do. So, I mean, we're very much a software provider, so we don't get involved in the advertising component, but we have built in, at the request of some clients, a number of abilities for people to do A/B testing, as well as to take a message and to run that message through a creator that allows them to come up with 8 or 9 or 10 or even 15 variations of that original message to be able to test the reliability and test the click-through rates and so on, right? So we have taken that consideration. It's a good question. Not everybody uses it, but we do have a handful of very large clients that rely on that every day.
It just seems to me it's like a big box of crayons, and you can either make a big mess or you can make a terrific picture. So if you get a little guidance sometimes, your message probably is going to be a little more effective. And I'm wondering, are there any other tips that you might have about creating effective text messages?
Yeah, so and you're right. Yeah, I mean, if you put thought into it, and if you actually go out and you actually trust the data, and you check out what's working, what's not, then you're able to kind of craft and hone that a little bit. But I would always say that with a message, keep it short and sweet, especially your first initial message as you're looking to kind of get involved in the conversation. You want to take advantage of Peerley's font because you want your message to stand apart. And you should absolutely be using rich media. You should be using either GIFs, or you should be using video. You should be using pictures wherever you can. And you should always have somebody in place to be able to reply back to those individuals, right? Even if it takes a little bit of time because you have a lot of replies coming in, you really want to take your time and reply back, because that's a voter at the other end of the line, right? Don't try to make peer-to-peer texting into a linear form of communication. There's no point. I mean, it's a lot more dynamic than that. We're talking about, living in this world of basic advertising and basic messaging for so long, and now we have this advanced way of connecting with potential supporters, right? So you should definitely take advantage of all the cool features that we offer.
Now, you didn't mention sound in the collection of parts of the messaging. So do you find that there should be an audio channel, an opt-in audio element?
Yeah, so going right back to the last question, let's take advantage of everything that we're offering. So we actually can, we do have a sound engine that allows your message to transmit in full studio sound, which means that we're actually going to give maximum bass on your message, and as well as maximum sound clarity. So you might as well include something. And what I would always say is use it to reinforce your message. So there is a lot of these silent messages out there, and the reason why you see a lot of silent advertisements is because the way that Google and Facebook does not automatically play messages or play videos when you're on certain social media with volume. That's actually a protocol they have, and people have adopted that and think that that's the way that they should go. Unlike all of that, text messaging, you still have to press play, which means that person that took their finger and pressed that play button that's in their text window, they want to hear what you have to say. So use the audio, and if if you have a full produced studio level commercial, well, you can rest assured that your audio is going to come out loud and clear, right? It's not going to be grainy, it's not going to be choppy. There's no concept of buffering with MMS. It's a completely different type of technology. It does not rely on Wi-Fi or data.
And can you remind our listeners about 10DLC and how the implementation is going across the country?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. That's been a major difference in this cycle. So 10DLC was an industry-born protocol, and that was just to ensure that messages that are being sent from trusted resources. So if you want to send political text using local numbers in 2022, you need to be registered and approved by a body, by the Campaign Registry, which is actually a team that's been put in place by the carriers. So going back in 2020, I think it was around 54% of voters indicated that putting a verification system in place would be the best way to know if a text message was coming from a legitimate source. During that same period of time, there was already a group of people that were working on this industry-born solution. So the rollout has had a few hiccups. But overall, we've seen a great uptick in campaigns registering and broad participation in the program. So Purely actually sits on the advisory board for the Campaign Verify. So we're able to help continue to improve this process for political clients. We've also been working very closely with the Campaign Registry, which is the organization that administers 10DLC. We've been working very closely with them since day one, and we actually do regular webinars for our clients with the Campaign Registry as well as with some of the major carriers. And there is fees involved in 10DLC, but Purely is unique because we actually pay all of the 10DLC registration fees for our clients. So we've seamlessly built in the registration process into our platform to make it easy for the clients, and we pay for the fees, and we're continuing to help make this process more streamlined and more effective for our clients through our relationships with these bodies as well.
Well, thanks for that great clarification. Before I let you go, I'm just wondering where you see the most promise for P2P campaigns in the general election.
Yeah, I mean, I would say like political advertising, it's an $8 billion market. A large amount of that is invested in linear commercials, as I've mentioned. So I think that by 2024, HD video texting has the potential to be, amongst the primary ways commercials are delivered to voters. The only thing that was really holding back the market shift, the way I look at it, is that it's been low quality video. Kind of offered out there by smaller competitors or just even previous generations of the technology. But Purely came in 2022 and we solved the problem. So now we do have that HD 1080p quality video that you can send out. So I think the sky's the limit. Purely is going to continue to bring innovations to market. We're going to keep offering fair rates, and we're going to work every day, hard every day for our customers. So I think that peer-to-peer texting has a great future, and Purely is very excited to play a role in it all.
Thanks to my guest today, Josh Justice, president of Purely, Peerly.com. Follow them on Twitter at PurelyINC. I'm Karen Jagoda, president of eVoter Institute, and you've been listening to the digitalpoliticspodcast.com show. Follow us on Twitter at eVoter Institute. Like us on Facebook at Digital Politics Radio. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.